Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to bring a video to you guys that could possibly help you guys out right now. Listen, it's the month of September and some of you guys may not be catching fish in the same area you have been catching fish. And there's a reason for this, okay? The bass are slowly starting to leave their summer patterns and they're heading into their more fall patterns. And what I mean by that is the days are getting shorter. We're getting cooler nights. We're getting cooler mornings. And what's happening is the shad are moving from deep and they're moving shallow. They're moving in the backs of creeks. They're moving, up on shallow humps, shallow flats. So what's happening is these bass are following them. These days are getting shorter and these nights are getting cooler. It may feel like 100 degrees out here still, but if you look at your water temperature, it's slowly starting to drop. So I wanted to bring some baits to you guys that can help you out right now. There's some important baits that I think you guys should be throwing, so stick around. Alright guys, so let's just dive right into it. I'm going to give you guys a few baits that I think will help you guys out in this month, going into October and November. So the first bait up is gonna be a buzz bait. All right, a buzz bait, if I can get this thing off, the first bait is going to be a buzz bait. All right, and as you notice, this is a skirted buzz bait and it's white. I do have a Storm Largo shad on here as a trailer. But the good thing about a buzzbait is it works really well for covering water and locating these fish. This blade is going to put off, a good amount of noise. It's also going to put off a good amount of flash. This is actually a Booyah buzzbait. So, covering water early in the morning, late in the evening. Like I said, this buzzbait's really going to play a big role. And for some reason, they just like this buzzbait this time of year. They really do. I think it has a lot to do with that flash, mimicking the forage. Alright, so this is going to be another moving style topwater bait. This bait, in my opinion, is another great bait to be throwing right now. This is the Whopper Plopper, the Chopo. Any type of plopper style bait that has the tail in the back that spins. This is actually the Berkeley Chopo. It's like a whitish, blackish. Again, it's white. So, I'm staying with that whole shad presentation. I'm trying to mimic the shad. Now, the key with this is you may find yourself needing to, mix up your presentation, speed up or slow down your retrieve. They may want it fast or they may want it slow. But so the buzzbait in the Berkeley Chopo or a Whopper Plopper is a great bait to be using this time of year to mimic those shad that's pushing back into those shallow flats and those shallow creek areas. Now, say you find these schools of shad, these threadfin shad that's schooled up in massive, huge balls, right? And you see these fish, these bass just blowing up on them like crazy and gorging on them. Well, that's the time I'm gonna pick up a walking style bait. Okay, this is a KVD, okay, Sexy Dog. A walking style bait is gonna be really well for when they're schooled up, blowing up on the surface. You can fire this thing in there. You can make a bomb cast with it, and you can just jerk, 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 boom, get a bite just like that. Another one I would be throwing this time of year is the Berkeley Jaywalker. It's a great bait to be throwing. Like I said, if you see them schooling out there, this is a great bait to have tied on this time of year because it's going to mimic a shad on top of the water fleeing away from its predator. So, something maybe a little bit of chrome, a little bit of flash, maybe even downsize. This is a full size one. I would even maybe go down to the smaller little junior. Let me see, I have it somewhere. Like I said, there's the Jaywalker that I love to throw. This is a bone color. And then there's the mini, the little junior size sexy dog. I don't know if you can see it. There's like a glare going on or something like that. But it's just in a shad pattern, blue with the yellow and the white. Again, that's a great bait to be throwing right now. You see him school it up, fire that thing in there. You can normally make long casts with topwater baits like that and just twitch it across the top of the water. You know, it's a great way to trigger a reaction strike bait as well, or a reaction strike. Again, because you're just going across that ball of bait and boom, they blow up on it. All right, let's move on from the topwater. And don't forget, this month right here is a great month to be throwing topwater. All right. So another bait. This is a completely different category now. Now we're talking about some subsurface baits that I would highly recommend to be throwing. Okay. If I can grab it. Square bill crankbait. The square bill crankbait is going to be a great bait to be throwing. It's a great choice. These bass are getting in the back of pockets. Okay. They're getting on shallow flats, shallow humps, shallow points. They're getting just shallow. Remember that. For one, this mimics the forage perfect. Look at the size of it. Okay, super tiny. This is really an excellent bait to cover water quickly and to locate these fish. If you're not seeing them, you know, if you're not seeing the schooled up shad, square bill, throw it around. You can cover water quickly, and you can definitely cause a reaction strike with this. Match the forage. As you can tell in this one, you know, it's silver with a lot of white on there. I'm again back to the basics of matching the hatch. You know, threadfin shad. You can target shade lines with this. You know, I would say mix up your retrieval. You know, start by just slowly working it down. You know, if you have some 45-degree banks, slowly go down those banks. If you're working across a more of a shallower flat, you know, burn that thing so it's just digging in the ground constantly. You know, that way you can entice them to just hit it, you know, like react out of it, you know, react on it. So a square bill crankbait would be a great bait right now to be throwing. Don't overlook just regular size crankbaits neither. These are DT8s. You know, don't overlook just a regular standard crankbait. It doesn't have to be a square bill. If you notice, this DT8 is super tiny. I mean, that's gonna match the hatch perfect. So, you know, crankbaits, keep that in mind. Crankbaits are perfect right now for covering water. All right, so another subsurface bait that I want to talk about real fast. And no, it's not going to be a minnow. Well, similar. Small little swim bait. You can't get any more closer to matching the hatch than throwing some little small little 3.5, 4.5 inch swim bait. This happens to be the Mayor from Rapala. I'm throwing it on this is a 6 cents Divine swim bait head with an underspin. This has a pretty stout hook actually, so I'm casting on a bait caster. But I mean, if you want to really match the hatch, small swim bait, with or without the blade on it. I mean, there's days when they want the underspin, and there's days where they don't want the underspin. You know, you can start with the bigger one, maybe like the 4.5 inch size. If you know, if you're throwing another style, you know, swim bait, and you might have to work it down. You just have to really see what type of bait your bass are keying in on in your type of lake. You know, the forage may be really tiny or it may be a little bit bigger. So just pay attention to the forage. A swim bait this time of year is another great bait to be throwing. Alright guys, so I got just a couple more to go through that I think is really key and not a whole lot of people are talking about them. Now, I haven't pulled this rod out in a while. I ain't fished this bait in a while. But what we're talking about, good old spinner bait. That's right. Spinner bait. I mean, I don't think there's another bait that puts off more flash than a spinner bait. You know, so as far as if you're trying to match that ball of bait, spinner bait is perfect. These two willow leaf blades is going to be perfect for matching a grouped up big ball of threadfin shad that's swimming to the back of those pockets. Not to mention, this is a great search bait. You can cover water with it fast. All right, and this is a War Eagle spinner bait. And it's actually a little bit smaller than most of your spinner baits out there. But if you can find a really compact, downsize your spinner bait with some silver blades on there and maybe a small little swim bait trailer, this is gonna be perfect. Pull the spinner bait out, give it a shot. You'll be surprised on what and how many fish will start catching on it. Again, I mean, it's that time. All right, last but not least. Alright, so like I said, these shad are leaving the summer, or leaving the deep water from summer. Transition is going to start happening. They're going to start going shallow. Okay, not everyone has shallow water with rocks, you know what I mean, or just hard bottom. A lot of the lakes, especially where I'm from, has a lot of grass. Now, I know you're probably thinking chatterbait, right? Bladed jig. Wrong. Lipless crankbait. If there's one other bait right now that mimics forage just as good as like a swim bait, is gonna be a lipless crankbait. A lipless crankbait, you're gonna be able to cover water super fast, and if that forage is back there on those grass flats, perfect to go through the grass. I mean, we all know the lipless crankbait is a lifesaver when it comes to fishing grass. Okay. This is actually a Booyah one knocker, which I prefer. I do fish the Strike King, the red eye shad. I do, but I'm really love the one knocker. This is like the shad pattern, sexy shad, which is one of my favorites. As you can tell, it's kind of silverish, which is going to reflect a lot of light, which is going to put off like the forage is doing. Has a really tight wobble going through, just like the shad, like if it was fleeing from a predator. So it's really good for covering water, like I said, and it's really good for a grassy lake. So if you're in a grassy, shallow, flat area, or in an area just with grass, pick up a lipless crankbait, throw it around. Guys, I think that's it. Like I said, the bass are moving. And it's all because of the shad. It may not be happening in your lakes right now, and it may not be happening everywhere, but it is happening somewhere. And for that reason, I wanted to bring you guys this video. I noticed last week when I was out and about, I was seeing balls of shad. I was literally standing and looking over the boat, and I could see them. I mean, hundreds of thousands in a group, and they're just moving. And then out of nowhere, bass just comes up and gorges on it. So take these techniques, take these baits, these top water walking baits, these top water moving baits, the crank baits, the spinner baits, the swim baits. Take those and apply them on your fishery and see what happens. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you have any questions, leave them down there in the comment section, and if you don't mind, please hit that subscribe button. I got more videos coming out. So until then, tight lines.